Thank you, Hugh, and thanks to the whole team here at North Star, Nisha, and your wonderful board. Could we give a little bit of applause for the board? It's wonderful for me to be here in this room, and especially wonderful to be here to present the first award to a longtime friend of mine, Julissa Reynoso, who embodies the spirit of passionate activism that North Star embraces and promotes. But it's great to be here with all of you. There are so many people here I've worked with. There's so many people here I've actually represented. I represent all of you now. Even a few people here I've sued, but it's, I think that there is a certain level of clarity that we have now reflected in what he was saying. There is no question of the path forward. The options offered by, and I can say this as someone who has won but has taken the pledge, the options offered by elected Democrats are not true options for reform. The only option is to organize. The only option is to rise from the bottom. The only option is to bring change from the people who want it. And I travel around the state of New York, and I travel everywhere, and the people are so ready for this. They are so much more ready than their elected officials who purport to represent them. So I'm happy to be here as an activist. I happen to be the New York State Attorney General right now, which is pretty remarkable for those of you who actually know my political views. But it is not a time of question. It is a time of clarity. People will rise. We have tremendous upside in New York. I know people cringe when Hugh was saying Albany. We can do this. We can do this. We can take our state back. The people are ready. It's artificially depressed into a more conservative state than it really is. And that will be what empowers the cities and the counties around the state to really make the change we need. And tonight, I am truly honored to present an award to Julissa Reynoso, who is an activist who I got to know in Washington Heights and in the Bronx, but went on to extraordinary accomplishment. An immigrant who went to Ivy League schools, who never forgot where she came from. She embodies the term, which there's really no direct English translation, but she is una luchadora. She is a fighter for justice. She is a struggler for justice. And some of you remember in 2002, after I'd served one term in the state Senate, and I had been such a pain in the neck that the Democratic and Republican leaders decided to get rid of me by drawing me into a 68% Latino district, understanding that I'd studied Chinese and not Spanish in college. And with the entire political establishment against me, Julissa and this group of young people, and a few, Radames is here, a few people who were more my age, but it was a total renegade group that was doing stuff that worked, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked. And I was able to run the most progressive campaign you can imagine. I was able to get 68% of the vote. Julissa then went on to a successful career as a lawyer. She's a terrific lawyer, and she's in private practice now, but she was in charge of the State Department desk for the Caribbean during the Haiti earthquake. She was the key person in providing relief. She has saved thousands of lives. She has mobilized hundreds of millions of dollars for causes that she doesn't even talk about. She went on then to become the ambassador to Uruguay, and having been with her in Uruguay, I will say she's the best ambassador the United States ever sent anywhere. You walk with her in the streets of Montevideo, and people are like, "Oh, Julissa, can I have my picture taken?" She's a celebrity. She would go on TV. She would talk from the heart as a Latina to the people in Uruguay. The United States has a much better reputation than we probably deserve in Uruguay because of Julissa Reynoso. So I'd now like to call her up, and it's time to give her this award, and it's for social justice. And I honor all of the folks here who are receiving awards, but this is very special for me. This is the embodiment of the passionate struggle for justice that she does in her waking hours, and I'm confident that's what she dreams about when she sleeps. Julissa.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you who came to accompany us today. Thank you, North Star. Thank you, Hugh, for holding my award. Thank you to Eric, who's a dear friend and colleague and person who is a fantastic leader in New York and in the whole country, and represents the best of progressive thought and action, and is really a dear friend. I also want to thank Nisha Atre, who was the chair of North Star's board, but for all of us who went to the same college as Nisha, she's also a college mate, and I recruited her to the board of North Star. And now she's a fantastic and relentless leader on behalf of the North Star cause. My first encounter with North Star was over a decade ago when an organization I helped launch received the North Star grant to work on education reform and organizing in Upper Manhattan. I had just completed law school and was volunteering with several community-based organizations working on social justice issues. North Star gave my organization its first grant. It was not a lot of money. Hence, you're all here, we gotta give more money so more people can get cash. And so, in any event, but it was fantastic because it was the first grant that this organization received. I couldn't believe there were funders that cared about a random group of folks from uptown Manhattan that were advocating for immigrant rights and for access to certain basic services, including an adequate education and an adequate sense of citizenship and sense of belonging in New York City. 4 years later, after receiving the grant, I was struggling in my world of lawyering and ensuring that I was learning something, practicing law at a big law firm. And thank you, by the way, to all my folks from my law firm that are present here, and my prior law firm, they're actually here also, which says a lot. Maybe I didn't mess up that badly. I was recruited to become a North Star board member. And North Star then, as it is today, was the perfect vehicle for me to support the many creative and social justice causes that New York deserves and generates, while at the same time making a living in my legal profession. In such a diverse city as this one, it was an opportunity to optimize, to gain access, but at the same time generate relationships and generate new ways of thinking and supporting those creative ways of helping folks that have little to no access to privileges that many of us here have. I am back before North Star after serving all of you in the US government. I served the US government, I served you all as ambassador and as a diplomat in the State Department for over 5 years. I was honored and privileged to have that opportunity. I was living in Washington, and which, by the way, is nothing compared to New York City, and I was desperate to get back home. But I survived because I knew I was going to be back. And then I went to Uruguay and had a fantastic time. Why? Because Uruguayans are wonderful, and also because I was as far away from Washington, D.C. as I could ever conceive. It's actually the southernmost capital on earth. My views as a State Department official were very much framed by my experience being an activist, an advocate, a lawyer, working, serving, attempting to really represent the Upper Manhattan and Bronx communities, particularly those that are of immigrant and marginalized descent. Thank you, North Star, for investing in me and my motley crew of activists over 10 years ago with not a lot of money. But it was good for us then. And thank you for believing in me and my cause and honoring me today. My years of service as an organizer, advocate, is a work in progress. My last reincarnation was as an ambassador. Who would have thunk it, from going to organizing in Upper Manhattan and trying to make a change by talking to folks from all walks of life about their rights and their condition here in New York as New Yorkers. But I do believe my time in government and my time as an activist really represents the very best of New York organizing and the very best of what North Star represents. And thank you, North Star, for investing in me back then and investing in me today. I hope all of you continue to invest in people like me or a younger version of me by putting funds and passion and ideas into this fantastic, brilliant city full of crazy, wonderful organizers with transformative thought and transformative methods of changing our world. Thank you.